Hi everyone and welcome to another FACEHAMMER video about the old world. Today we're going to be talking about all things magic. So new articles gone up in the Almanac series on Warhammer Community, and this article talks about the magic phase. Well, not really a phase in this edition, but the magic system. So magic's always been a system that's been changed a lot. I remember the old cards, deck of cards and total power card, drain magic, and you had the battle magic set, which is the box with all the magic items in it. There are some other little things in this article which hint at some other stuff, so it's great to see. So I'm going to go through it now and give you my thoughts on it. But before I get straight into it, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's re-engaged with the channel since I've started doing content again on a more frequent basis, and the Flash Eater video went really well, so thanks everyone for the kind comments. I did make a slight error in that video, but I will be doing a follow-up on that as well because I've got an army list idea I want to talk about. I have actually found my old Warhammer books as well, so I will be getting into that old world content where I look at other books and the old army books. Just bear with me. I've had as you can probably hear, a stinking cold. I'm just coming out the other side of it now, so hopefully I'll better get some of that content done over Christmas period. So let's get into the article and I'll give you my thoughts and feelings, and you let me know in the comments what you think and if anything sparked your interest or if you disagree or anything like that. So this is the article on Warhammer Community. Again, you can just go to warhammercommunity.com and the old world articles are there. So this was posted on the 4th of December, so it's yesterday. It's on every Monday they tend to release these. So it says magic brings a sparkle. Well, yeah. How does it work? So basically there's a 4-phase structure, which we know about because we've seen that. And they say the biggest break with previous versions is that the magic phase doesn't have its own phase. So that's kind of interesting, and it says that magic they can cast in every phase. So it's saying that in the old world it's before the College of Magic is established. So Imperial Wizards are sort of tapping into the 8 winds, but the study of magic hasn't been formalized. So I don't know if that, because obviously you have the sort of the schools of magic, and that was kind of the basis of everything. So maybe they're not going to follow that kind of thing. Maybe Empire won't have like amber wizards or light wizards and all this. So it's quite interesting. So there are laws. There are 8 in the core rulebook. And it looks like that's battle magic, dark magic, demology, elementalism, high magic, illusion, necromancy, and war magic. Which is quite interesting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, because usually you'd have like your 8 schools of magic, but obviously that's not a thing in this edition. So they've kind of called it just battle magic, illusion. They're not elementalism, which could probably fire, and because you used to have like high magic and shadow and all, beasts. All that looks like it's gone. It says most mages will have access to 2 or more of these laws, and it says selecting 1 law at the start of the battle. Now, I don't know if that means that if you're playing like a tournament, for example, you would need to state on your army list what laws you take. You usually used to, but it's the start of the battle. I don't know. So each law has 7 spells, with 1 being a signature that's always available to its adherents. Every magic user has a level from 1 to 4, which has always been the case. The higher the level, the more effective the wizard, and the more spells they know at the start of the game. So there are categories of spells. This is something that I think would have benefited a long time ago in the game, because you could have rules about how they work without having to repeat wording on spells. So it's great that they've done this. So you've got enchantment, so they empower the caster, and then you've got hexes, which debuff basically. Then you've got conveyance, which is to do with movement. Then you've got magic missiles, which obviously damage, vortexes, which are like rolling globes. So there was a set called, I think it was Storm of Magic, and there was a book with a little spinny dial, and you could get the domes for the different vortexes, like the tin domes with the different things. And then you've got assailment and their attacks. So they're like, I think they're in the combat phase. It says here, so enhancement strategy phase, and hex, conveyance movement, magic missile and vortexes shooting, assailments combat. So you can end up enchanting a hex from the outset, magically move when it's time to charge, and blast with arcane power when the shooting happens. So it basically means you could do that. So each conjuration has a casting, and this is something I alluded to in a previous video, that I thought it would be 2d6 and add your, say, skill level, or say like caster level. It's a lot quicker than previous, because you used to have like a pool of dice and go, I'll spend 2 dice, 3 dice on this one. And like you generally dispelling, you kind of felt a massive disadvantage. Miscast tables back, and you can get a perfect invocation on a 6/6. So this is the miscast table. Because if a natural 1/1 is rolled, regardless of the result, you've miscast. And you roll on the miscast table. Now, Dimensional Cascade used to kill your wizard on a 50-50 roll. Now, it doesn't look like it does that. It says Summon Magic Breaks, 5-inch blast on the wizard. Every model takes a strength 10, AP -4 hit. But it doesn't say it does multi-damage. So it looks like it's just going to do a wound. Obviously, still quite devastating if you're stood in the front rank of a unit. Then you've got this detonation. So it's a 3-inch blast. Strength 6, AP -2. Then the careless one. So you take a single strength 4 hit with -1. Then you've got barely controlled. So the wizard manages to control the magic, but expends a great power. You cast it at its cast value. However, you cannot cast any more spells for the turn. And then power drain is you can't have, you basically get it automatically. You cannot attempt to cast any more spells for the remainder of the current turn. Now, that could be quite big. I don't know how much of an impact that will have. It looks like wizards are going to be able to cast quite a lot. I don't know whether you only get to cast it, because there used to be a number of spell cap. But you never really got to it because you didn't have the dice to, like fuel that. So I don't know if you'll be able to say, for example, obviously you only know a limited number of spells. But if you know 3 spells, does that mean a level 1 could cast, or a level 2 could cast 3 spells at a turn, or is it just 2 spells? I don't know. You also got dispelling. So if you're within 18 inches as a 1st and 2nd level caster, or 24 as a 3 or 4 level caster. So obviously that's actually not that close a range. I remember original Age of Sigmar was 18 inches, and you're never really in range to use it, to stop any of the key spells going off on turn 1 for the wombo combo. Not saying that's going to be the case in this game, because it seems like obviously it happens later in the turn, so it's not like you have to be there at the start of the turn. What's interesting about this, you'll be able to move out of dispel range and then cast in the shooting phase. So like, if you're like within 18 of their caster and you're like, I want to cast my magic missile, that happens in the shooting phase. So you have a movement phase before you do that. So you could move and say, and I think they've already said pre-measuring's fine. You could move and say, well, I'm not within unbind range. There's nothing you can do about this. Which is quite an interesting concept from a tactical point of view. You can use it to zone off areas of the board, or you try and anticipate where they want to be, or make sure that if your wizard's in a unit, then they obviously can't be hit, because you're going to be, if the range of a magic missile is, I don't know, 18 inches, and your wizard's in the unit, then maybe they won't be able to do it. So might make level 3 and level 4 wizards quite important. Anyway, unbinding is roll 2d6 at your level, and you've got to beat the cast roll. A 6/6, sorry, it's a dispel attempt. A 6/6 is an unbinding, and it gets rid of the spell no matter what they cast it on. Should you roll a 1/1, you've been outclassed, and you have to roll on the miscast chart. So you can actually miscast whilst trying to dispel, which is really interesting. That's completely new. It's a bit baffling, but there you go. This is casting and dispel rules can be further modified by the magic items available to wizards and special rules. So obviously you might have +1 to cast or something else, and you probably find that if lizardmen were a thing, they would have loads of special rules. And it does say that if players find themselves unable to attempt a wizardly dispel, they may make 1 fated dispel per turn. So it's an unmodified 2d6 attempt. And it says some units, noticeably dwarves, have an innate resistance to magic, making it harder for enemy wizards to cast spells upon them. Yet dwarves have the recourse to the arcane, so the runesmiths can make dispel attempts. So if you're playing an army that doesn't have magic, maybe your wizards are dead or something, you still get a chance for 1 spell, but there's no modification on that. So it'd be quite hard to stop. If they're at like a +3 and you're at nothing, that's quite a big swing. Now, magic resistance is mentioned. Now, I think in the Damsel, which we're going to get to now, this kind of gives us a hint how this is going to work. Obviously, we get the special rule article next week, so that will give us probably exactly how it works. So it says here that she can pick from 3 laws. Naturalistic elementalism, tricky illusion, or battle magic. So I just think that's elementalism, illusion, and battle magic. And you've got her stat here. You've got a prophetess or a damsel. So obviously the prophetess is like the higher level one. You can see that 1 extra weapon skill, 1 extra attack, 1 extra leadership. But really, it's a prophetess is level 3, a damsel is level 1. It says what laws they know from, and it says that a prophetess may be a level 4, 30 points. Remember, it used to always be 35 points, but it's 30. Magic items up to 100 points. So that is your magic item for a lord level character was 100 points, so that's there again. Damsel may be a level 2, can purchase magic items up to 50 points, so that's 50 and 100, lord and hero. Seems like that's there again. She may be mounted. I don't see any mount options, but maybe that's a separate thing. Obviously, we know probably can ride a unicorn or whatever it is. So it says she's got special rules: Aura of the Lady, Blessing of the Lady, Law of the Lady, magical attacks, magic resistance -2. Now, I think the way magic resistance is going to work is if you use a hex or a magic missile spell on a unit of magic resistance, that's a -2 to cast the spell. So it makes it harder to cast a spell and easier to get rid of the spell. That would kind of make sense, because I know before it used to add additional dispel dice. So that's how I think it'll work. So she can mount it on a warhorse, a Bretonnian warhorse, Royal Pegasus, or a unicorn. Now, obviously, like that doesn't say here in the options, but maybe this is just a summary. And it's got the unicorn stats. So it's got Armor Bane 2, unicorn only. So obviously it doesn't give it to the rider, I assume. Armored Hide, so it probably counts as like barding. Beguiling Aura, we don't know what that does. Countercharge, magical tap, Stomp 1, and Swift Stride. So monstrous cavalry. It's got the base size there. +1 wounds, it's like it gives you extra wound on your character. Quite interesting. So she's at her best when she joins a unit as a Aura confers magical attacks and magic resistance to the brave men she leads. So if she's in a unit of knights, it looks like they get magical attacks. That's pretty big. That there's a lot of stuff in the game where magical attacks was quite important, especially when you're playing hex race or Karen Wraith units. And it says that Shield of the Lady ability allows her to seek sanctuary in the back rank. So she can basically go, probably find that means she can go in the back rank in the middle, whatever it is. It says as a battle magic user, her signature spell is Hammer Hand. It's an assailment cast in combat and considerable threat to the charge of the knights who flank her. Elementalist can storm call an enemy unit, slow them and dulling their wits. Illusionist can cast Glittering Robe, make it hard to be hit in combat. It says you should always have a damsel in your knight units, so we'll see. So hammer hand, a single enemy unit the caster is engaged in combat with takes 2d3 strength 4 hits with an AP of -2. So then you've got glittering robe. It's on herself until till the start of turn sub phase. Enemy units have a -1 modifier to any rolls to hit against the caster and any unit they have joined. Oh, okay, so it's the unit as well. If the spell is cast, the effects of any other enhancement immediately expire. So if you've got an enchantment on, it looks like they're going to stop any other enchantment stacking. So obviously these could be quite powerful if you had multi-casters in a unit and they're all putting a different buff on, and the unit could kind of get super powered. Looks like they're going to stop that happening. Then you've got Storm Core, which is a hex. It's only a range of 12, it's quite short. And it says, until your start of turn subphase, the target enemy gets -1 to its movement and initiative. So again, it says if a hex previously cast, immediately expire. So I imagine that you'll be capped at 1 in enhancement, 1 hex. I kind of think they could have put that rule, I mean, it might be, rather than write it on every spell, because there'll be a point, probably, where they forget to write that on a hex spell. And then you'll be like, oh, this one, you can stack it. It should just probably be in the core rules of how hexes work. It might be. We haven't seen the rule book yet. So it seems like the magic phase, is going to be quite interesting because you're going to be doing stuff in different turns. They're going to be swinging the combat. It's going to be quite important. You imagine if you charged into the enemy, and at the start of the combat phase, you've got an assailment spell, and you blow yourself up, you're going to hit your unit and their unit. So it could be kind of crazy. How those casualties work out for combat, do they count to combat res? I don't know. I think there's going to be some probably weird rules interactions with outer sequence like magic, because obviously they've designed the game based on the old system, and magic was kind of contained in its own phase. So what I'm a bit worried about is that when you get into the nuts and bolts of a game, there might be interactions with spells which throw up weird rules interactions that they're not anticipated because they've not constrained them to a certain point in the game. The Dispel Miscast is really interesting, and I like the Fated Dispel idea. So I'm really excited to see what the laws are going to have. I love the fact there's a necromancy law. I'm not sure then if there's going to be bespoke laws for each army, because if the core laws already have things like, your dark magic and your war magic, maybe they're not going to have a law in every army book. Maybe if they release other factions, they might, like if Kislev come out as their own faction, then will they have their own law of ice or whatever it is? So it's interesting, because, for example, necromancy, is with the Lich Priests in the Tomb King army. They don't really use necromancy. They use the incantations. It's kind of the opposite of necromancy. It's like a different type of magic. It's more, if like D&D, it's not arcane. It's like divine. It's like the blessings of their gods. It's not like Nagash's perversion, which is like, just tapping into the raw arcane power and using it to replicate those kind of effects. So interesting how the Tomb Kings are going to work. I'd like to see I'd love it if they got their own rules for incantations. That was always one of the things I thought was really cool about the army. We'll have to wait and see. Because necromancy's listed, and I don't think, because vampire counts are not one of the armies that are listed as one of the core armies, although they've said they are going to be doing like PDFs, or there will be rules for every original faction, like Skaven, vampires, ogres, but they're not going to be those main factions. So who uses necromancy? Is that going to be an option for like battle wizards in the Empire, or is that meant to encompass the Tomb King magic, which would be a bit surprising from a lore point of view, but but we'll see. We'll see what they do. When I get my old Tomb King books out, I will have a little bit of a read about their magic and see if I'm right on that. I know that comes probably from a Black Library series and the Gash series, but I'm pretty sure that it's not necromancy. That's like what Nagash basically invented, and he's basically the anathema to the kind of the Mortarian cult priests. You know, he's the one that's basically shunned all their teachings and thrown it out the window and done his own thing. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what spells are there and what kind of things you can do. I'm really hoping with, I mean, I love necromancy magic, you know, Van Hels's Dance Macabre, Curse of the Years, Gaze in the Gash, all these spells. I mean, is there going to be a Gaze in the Gash? I don't know. Is there in the Gash? Probably not. Maybe they'll bring back the clown model. I doubt it. Anyway, so that's the article. Quite exciting stuff. We got next week is the Universal Special Rules, which will be a chunky show, I imagine. I hope they reveal all those. They probably won't. I think they've said that they're going to talk about Ground Knights. Yeah, so Ground Knights and how the Universal rules interact with them. So you're probably going to get just that unit special rules, and they'll probably explain what they do, but not all the rules in the game. I love Universal Special Rules. I definitely wish Age of Sigmar did this. So many rules in Age of Sigmar are so similar. They could just have a universal rule, and then when you go to play an army you're not familiar with, your opponent will go, oh, they do impact hits, they've got hatred, they've got frenzy, they're unbreakable, blah, blah, blah. You know exactly what it does because you know the rule. Whereas at the moment they go, I've got star-studded spangle, blah, and you're like, what's that do? Well, it means in this phase, I do this thing, I roll this dice. You've got to explain the whole rule, which is really annoying. It takes so much immersion out of the game, and it really slows down the game. So if you want to play a game to a sort of a tactical, competent level, you've either got to have memorized 700 War Scrolls worth of rules, which no real normal human would do, or you've got to stop your opponent and go, explain that rule. When does that work? And then people tend to summarize. So as an example, I was playing a guy at the weekend with my dragons and talking about his gits, and he goes, I roll 4 dice and then I get 4 chances to bring a unit back. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, I roll 4 dice and you have 4 up, basically. I said, yeah, but what does it actually do? And it's, oh, if my character's within 12 of the shrine, I roll a dice. I get to re-roll the dice and I can do it twice. So that's a completely different nuanced rule than I roll 4 dice and any 4 up to a max of 2, I get a unit back. Because actually it triggered, if I know that the character has to be within 12 of the shrine, and I make sure the character's not within 12 of the shrine, or I kill that character, 1, he loses the second attempt, and 2, he loses the reroll. So actually, it makes that really ineffective. So it's almost like you have to kind of interrogate your opponent to get to the actual nuance of the rule to know how to counter it. And I think that's a real failing for Age of Sigmar for me at the moment. The game is just too clunked up and bloated with these rules. So I'm really hoping with Old World, they've got this concise list of special rules. There might be quite a lot. It's not going to be, it's going to be complicated. You can see from, just the damsel, look how many special rules she's got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 special rules. Put on a unicorn, get more special rules. But I could kind of work out what they're doing from here. And if you know what the Bretonnian specific ones do, and it's just, it will quickly be obvious, and you don't need to have different special rules that do basically the same thing. Like how many things at AOS do impact hits in a different way, or after you fight do mortal wounds in a different way, or just don't need to do it. You could just have one rule that says impact hits 5 up or a 4 up, and it works the same. And it could be, you could have a rule for the one where you charge, and after you charge you pick a model and you do D3, or you could do the rule that when you charge roll, you roll those dice, so you need to score a result. So you could have impactful charge, which is the one where you roll the dice. You could have impact hits, which is after you finish the charge, pick a model, roll a D3, that's something more. So it could be D3, D6, or 1. You could have a number in brackets, 1, D3, or 6, or D6. So, you know, it does 6 mortal wounds on the charge, you do D6 or you do D3, and that all works after you finish the charge, you're in half an inch, blah, 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 blah. You don't have to write all those words on every war scroll. You just literally have it in the core book. And the same with impactful charge. You'd say that's like the ogre charge. So you know, oh, okay, my charge roll, unmodified, is what there's a number of dice, and the number in brackets, 5 up, 6 up, 4 up. That's what I need on each dice to get a mortal wound through. So you could put those 2 rules in the core rules, and you could probably go through, and I reckon there's probably about 40 war scrolls I can think of where you could remove those rules, like just straight out the game. And you've literally just streamlined all those war scrolls, and rather than having named specific ones, like, I don't know, I can't even try to think of one off the top of my head, like your Juggernauts have got a rule, your Gore Grunters have got a rule, your Kavalos Death Riders have got a rule, your Ogres have got a rule. It's like you could just get rid of all that. Anyway, I'm digressing. So I'm looking forward to Universal Special Rules. Hopefully we'll get to see a nice suite of the sort of the death ones, because I'm quite interested in the Tomb Kings. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you found it informative. If you've got any comments or things you'd like to discuss, put it in the comments below, you know, and please share it with your old world circles. I'm trying to kind of, you know, get back into the old world, and I know our channel's been AOS pretty much from the start, but our podcast used to be very heavily old world or Warhammer Fantasy Battle. So please share it around and get people to start picking up our content, and I really appreciate everyone that does that. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Have a great day, and I'll see you in a week with the next Old World update.